You're here. That's the first step. You're here, perhaps late at night, or maybe stealing a moment during a busy day, drawn to this video by a feeling you can't quite name. A feeling of unease, restlessness, a sense that something is fundamentally off in your life. I see you. I know that feeling intimately. It's the feeling of being trapped, not in a physical prison, but in an invisible cage of your own making. A cage built from expectations, fears, and the insidious whispers of a world that wants you to conform. Have you ever wondered why, despite achieving what you thought you wanted, the job, the relationship, the possessions, you still feel this gnawing emptiness? Why the joy is fleeting, the satisfaction superficial? It's because you're living a life designed by someone else, a life that doesn't resonate with your deepest self. This invisible cage isn't built overnight. It's a gradual construction, a slow accumulation of compromises and concessions. It starts in childhood, with well-meaning parents and teachers shaping us into productive members of society. We're taught to value achievement over authenticity, conformity over creativity, security over risk. Then comes adolescence, a pressure cooker of social expectations and identity crises. We desperately try to fit in, to be accepted by our peers, often sacrificing our individuality in the process. We learn to wear masks, to hide our true selves, to perform for an audience that is often just as insecure as we are. And finally, adulthood, the real world. The world of mortgages, careers, and responsibilities. The world where the invisible cage becomes almost impenetrable. We tell ourselves that we're being realistic, responsible, mature. But what we're really doing is surrendering to the forces that keep us trapped. This cage is built from several key components. Expectations. The expectations of our families, our friends, our society. The pressure to conform to certain norms, to achieve certain milestones, to live a certain kind of life. Fears. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of being alone. These fears paralyze us, preventing us from taking risks, from pursuing our dreams, from living authentically. Limiting beliefs. The negative beliefs we hold about ourselves and the world. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy of love. These beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies, shaping our reality and reinforcing our sense of limitation. The illusion of control. The belief that we can control everything in our lives. This illusion leads to anxiety, stress, and disappointment when things inevitably don't go according to plan. The comfort zone. The familiar routines and habits that keep us safe and comfortable, but also prevent us from growing and evolving. This concept of the invisible cage isn't new. Philosophers and thinkers throughout history have explored similar ideas. Plato, in his famous allegory of the cave, described a group of prisoners who are chained in a cave, only able to see shadows projected on the wall. They mistake these shadows for reality, unaware of the true world outside the cave. Plato argued that most people are like these prisoners, trapped in a world of illusion and ignorance. They are content with the shadows, afraid to venture into the light of truth. The philosopher's role, according to Plato, is to liberate these prisoners, to guide them out of the cave and into the real world. Similarly, the movie The Matrix explores the idea of a simulated reality that is designed to keep humans enslaved. The protagonist, Neo, is offered a choice: to take the blue pill and remain in the comfortable illusion, or to take the red pill and face the harsh reality. Both Plato's cave and The Matrix are powerful metaphors for the invisible cage. They remind us that the reality we perceive is not necessarily the true reality, and that we have the power to choose whether to remain trapped in illusion or to break free and seek the truth. Psychology offers further insights into the mechanisms that keep us trapped in the invisible cage. Cognitive distortions, for example, are irrational thought patterns that distort our perception of reality. These distortions can lead to negative emotions, self-defeating behaviors, and a distorted sense of self. Some common cognitive distortions include all or nothing thinking, seeing things in black and white with no shades of grey, overgeneralization, drawing broad conclusions based on a single event, mental filter, focusing only on the negative aspects of a situation, discounting the positive, ignoring or minimizing positive experiences, jumping to conclusions, making assumptions without sufficient evidence, magnification and minimization, exaggerating the negative and minimizing the positive, emotional reasoning, believing that your feelings are facts, should statements, holding rigid expectations about how things should be, labeling, assigning negative labels to yourself or others, personalization, taking responsibility for things that are not your fault. These cognitive distortions reinforce the invisible cage by creating a distorted and negative view of ourselves and the world. Furthermore, the ego, as described by psychoanalysts like Sigmund Freud, plays a significant role in maintaining the cage. The ego is the part of our psyche that mediates between our primal instincts, the id, and the external world, the superego. It strives to maintain a sense of self-preservation and control. The ego often resists change and growth because it perceives them as threats to its stability. It clings to familiar patterns and beliefs, even if they are harmful, because they provide a sense of security. The ego is the gatekeeper of the invisible cage, preventing us from venturing outside our comfort zone and into the unknown. The invisible cage is not just a personal phenomenon, it's also a social and historical one. Throughout history, societies have used various mechanisms to control their citizens and enforce conformity. Propaganda, censorship, and oppressive regimes are all examples of how power structures can manipulate individuals and keep them trapped in a state of obedience. The Milgram experiment, for example, demonstrated the shocking extent to which people are willing to obey authority figures, even when it means harming others. The experiment showed that ordinary individuals are capable of committing atrocities when they are placed in a situation where they feel pressured to conform. Similarly, the Stanford prison experiment revealed the powerful influence of social roles and situational factors on human behavior. The experiment showed that even ordinary individuals can quickly adopt abusive and authoritarian behaviors when they are given power over others. These historical examples and psychological experiments highlight the dangers of conformity and the importance of critical thinking. They remind us that we must be vigilant in protecting our freedom of thought and expression, and that we must resist the forces that seek to control us. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher, offered a radical perspective on the human condition. He argued that the fundamental drive of human beings is the will to power, the desire to expand one's influence and to overcome obstacles. Nietzsche believed that traditional morality, particularly Christian morality, was a slave morality that suppressed the will to power and kept individuals weak and subservient. He advocated for a master morality that embraced strength, creativity, and self-assertion. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, Overman, represents the ideal of self-overcoming. The Übermensch is an individual who has transcended the limitations of conventional morality and created their own values. They are not bound by the expectations of society, but instead, they forge their own path and live life to the fullest. Nietzsche's philosophy is a powerful call to action. It challenges us to break free from the invisible cage, to embrace our will to power, and to become the masters of our own destiny. It encourages us to question everything, to challenge the status quo, and to create our own meaning in a world that is inherently meaningless. Existentialist philosophers, such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, also grappled with the problem of the invisible cage. They emphasized the importance of freedom, responsibility, and authenticity. Sartre argued that existence precedes essence, meaning that we are born into the world without a predetermined purpose or meaning. We are free to choose our own values and to create our own essence through our actions. This freedom, however, comes with a heavy burden of responsibility. We are responsible for our choices and for the consequences of those choices. We cannot blame others for our failures or our unhappiness. We must take ownership of our lives and create our own meaning. Camus, in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus, explored the absurdity of human existence. He argued that life is inherently meaningless and that we are all like Sisyphus, condemned to endlessly push a boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down again. Despite the absurdity of life, Camus argued that we must still find meaning and purpose in our existence. We must rebel against the absurdity, embrace our freedom, and create our own values. The existentialist perspective offers a powerful antidote to the invisible cage. It reminds us that we are free to choose our own lives, that we are responsible for our choices, and that we must find our own meaning in a world that is inherently meaningless. Buddhism offers a different approach to the problem of the invisible cage. It emphasizes the importance of mindfulness, acceptance, and non-attachment. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It involves observing OW,